Ever since Nick LaRocca started the original Dixieland Jazz Band in 1895, jazz has had a tremendous effect upon American culture, changing people's perspectives of music worldwide. Jazz has a strong influence on the education system, arts, and many celebrations, including jazz festivals. Jazz first emerged in the African American cultures of New Orleans from mixed influences of ragtime, blues, and band funeral music. Buddy Bolden, who lived from 1877 to 1931, contributed and started the spread of jazz. In the first decade of the 20th century, he had moved west, east, and north, and all the way to Chicago. Bolden first made jazz popular by spreading jazz through the nightclubs of many cities and playing with local bands. Innovations in jazz seem to come mainly from musicians such as Louis Armstrong, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, and John Coltrane. According to Andrew Sudol, development director at the Monterey Jazz Festival, jazz has helped to break racial and gender barriers in musical performance. It has also helped to contribute to the development of new musical forms which utilize elements of jazz such as improvisation. And it has helped meld together and popularize the different styles of music from various regions of the country, such as New Orleans, Kansas City, and the West Coast. Today, jazz is a huge part of the music education system, but this was not always the case. From 1930 to 1950, it was under attack of music education because it was thought to have a bad effect on school music. This attitude began to change from 1960 to 1970 because jazz activities were extremely successful on campuses. Jazz supporters helped change this, and by the early 1970s, there were 5 colleges to offer jazz band, including the Berklee School of Music and Tennessee State. According to the Harvard Dictionary of Music, 67% of schools now have a jazz band and 90% have concert band. There are currently over 100 jazz festivals throughout America, including the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival in Moscow, Idaho, the Ella Fitzgerald Music Festival in Newport, Virginia, the Greater Hartford Festival of Jazz in Hartford, Connecticut, the Indy Jazz Festival in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the Monterey Jazz Festival here in Monterey, California. Although only 10% of music album sales is jazz, it's still one of the oldest and most important music genres. Some say that jazz music is shallow and has no depth, but there are really 6 sub-genres, including the blues, Dixieland jazz, ragtime, big band, bebop, and free jazz. After instrumental jazz was established, vocalists made their mark by coming up with a jazz language that could be sung. Singers use this combination of dweebahs, oohs, and bebops to create a solo language, along with standard lyrics in the chorus. In the past, Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday have broken records with their album releases. Today, a jazz festival in Virginia is named after Fitzgerald for her accomplishments. Because of jazz improvisation's expressive and abstract personality, many artists were inspired to create colorful paintings that they believe describe jazz as a whole. This jazz artist, Ahmed Austin, uses a palette knife to portray the uniqueness and creativity of jazz music in his painting. As jazz spread across America, so did many new dance moves, creating a style of jazz dance, including the most popular, jazz hands. Before the early 1940s, jazz-style dance was specifically African-American vernacular dance. However, during the 1950s, modern jazz dance emerged with roots from Caribbean traditional dance. Today, the most popular form of jazz dance is tap dance. Dancers such as this man perform with a live band in formal settings, but today it is much more common to perform with a pre-recorded track. This is Buddy Rich, the most popular jazz drummer in the world. Rich is tap dancing to mimic this drum solo that he will later perform. As you can see, one unique form of music has greatly affected America. Because of jazz, there are now extracurricular jazz bands in schools, over 140 jazz festivals nationwide, jazz singers, a new form of tap dancing, and another expressive art form. Over the past 100 years, jazz has affected America more than any other kind of music.